when you're talking about suing someone because they intentionally inflicted emotional distress upon you, you're basically saying, I'm suing the bastard because he hurt my feelings. Next, you'll be saying, I'm suing him because he hurt my dog's feelings. I was sitting in the galleries for the argument in the Falwell case, and I looked across the aisle, and there was Falwell and his umpteen children, and I thought, the picture looked like a Norman Rockwell painting. I thought, uh-oh, here I go, I'm going down. And then the lawyers start arguing, and the more the arguments that went on, the worse it looked for me. Because Scalia, right out of the box, said, what public good is served by you ridiculing Reverend Falwell and treating him this way? And so my attorney comes back and says, well, I was just looking at an old cartoon from 1776 when Washington was being led to the Capitol, and the caption under it was, who's leading the ass? And so Scalia says, I can do that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think George has got a problem with that. But that's a long way from having sex with your mother in an outhouse.
Jeffrey, let's talk about this, the marketplace of ideas, right? We hear this all the time. Is everything fair game? I mean, isn't there a public interest in protecting people from emotional distress? I mean, isn't that a value that we should care about as well? What is the public interest in protecting speech that is pointless, right? That on its face can be said a different way. For instance, one can challenge Reverend Falwell without doing that parody.
Jerry Falwell legitimately brought the case because his feelings were hurt. And when we took Larry's deposition, we adduced testimony that said, you know that little ad parody on the bottom? I didn't want to put that there. My in-house counsel forced me to. And that I intended to inflict harm on Jerry Falwell. I intended to make him feel pain. And I intended to assassinate his integrity. And that's the kind of evidence that, in our view, would pass any kind of constitutional muster.
I don't think it's a pull at all to read this not as a statement of fact. That doesn't mean it doesn't inflict pain. I'm sure it did inflict pain, even Reverend Falwell. But the question, and it's a hard question, even if it's an 8-0 decision, is even so, are we concerned enough, or do we think that the theory of the First Amendment is powerful enough to carry the day, even in a case in which Larry Flynt said the things he did about his intentions?
So at the oral argument, Justice White, and I think also Justice Stevens, asked, what if Falwell was not a public figure, but rather a private citizen? But the question is, what's the marketplace of ideas value? I mean, why would we want to protect the right of the speaker against a private citizen and their feelings, their emotional distress?
See, I don't really view it as the rights of a speaker against the private citizen. I view it as, when do we approve of the government playing a role in that sort of decision? I mean, the First Amendment, after all, was adopted more than anything else as a protection against the government, out of fear of the government, out of concern. And the government includes the courts.
Nobody is saying that any publication should be suppressed. That's why there's the law against prior restraints. What the courts and the law is saying, however, is that a speaker or publisher has to be responsible for their consequences. And if the consequences are that they publish something that's truly outrageous and that truly causes severe emotional distress, there has to be some line of decency by which you can't cross. Just like there's an actual malice standard that says you could be the biggest public figure in the world, but if you could show this was done with culpable, intentional, or reckless conduct, you're entitled to recover damages against that speaker. And those are the lines that have been drawn for many years in this country.
But is there anything in your mind that's ever over the line that is just going too far?
Yeah, I think anyone who would exploit children, they're exploiting the rights of someone who's not old enough to speak for themselves. They should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I don't think that no countries, including our own, are putting enough money out there to protect children. What many people forget is we pay a price for everything, and the price we pay to live in a free society is toleration. We have to tolerate things that we don't necessarily like so we can be free. I tolerate Fox News and Bill O'Reilly, the Archie Bunker at Fox, you know.